self-paced Outschool classes could be earning you passive income, but does the thought of creating one just shut down your brain, put it in overdrive, and you're just not sure where to start? Or, you want to create one and it's on your to-do list, you just keep putting it off because there are a lot of moving pieces and a lot goes into it. And we're just like, I want it to be worth my time. And I want to make sure it sells out. I need to know that before I create it. So let's dive into the process that I use to create my self-paced classes. Going to be creating an overview of our classes. So not a specific lesson that is going to be next week. We're going to really dive into that lesson. We don't want to create just a random class or one maybe you haven't taught before. We want to do some research, and first off, I suggest creating one off of your best-selling live class. Okay, you will need a Google Doc, and that is going to look like this. I'm going to create a table here, and I'm going to have 3 columns, and we'll just go with 12. So this one, we're going to just title these week 1 so we can really organize this. Week 1, and then we're going to do our topic and then our description. Class title, when you're ready for your class title, go ahead and put it there. The objective, super important. What do we want our students to be able to accomplish with this class? From point A to by the time they finish, what can they accomplish? What will they be able to do? So in my class, I'm going to be creating a multiplication class, really focusing on the fast tricks. So think of your student, where they are at in their journey in this lesson. Are they a beginner? Are they intermediate, or are they advanced? They know a lot and you're ready to take them further. Where are your students on this journey of your class? My students are in intermediate, so they know multiplication, they know what it is, but they just need some tricks to get faster. So they're not a pro yet, they're intermediate. So my objective would be that they know fast tricks to help them know multiplication facts and build up to memory. Hey, editing Natalie, jumping in here just for a second so I can better explain the framework and process for posting in my self-paced classes. So I post 3 times a week, and that framework I follow, really the we do, you do framework. So as teachers, we're familiar with that. We do that all the time. If you're not, we have an I do part where I'm doing most of the teaching. We're working on something together with my students, and then my students are working independently. So I follow that framework in my lessons throughout the whole week, but I also follow that in an individual lesson as well. But in this video, we're talking about planning the whole overall whole week lesson. So the first time I post for my class, that will be an instructional video where I am teaching, and I am teaching my subject. And in this example I'm giving you further in the video, I'm teaching a multiplication trick. So I am showing my students that. And then throughout the video, I will pause the video and embed some questions in there for students to answer. And then the second time I post that week, I'm following more closely the we do. So more working together with my student. This could look like another video from me where I'm teaching a little bit and then more working together with students. I will ask a question and then the video will pause. Students will have that time to answer a question, and then I will continue with the answer so they can check it and make sure they got it right, and then I can show how I solved it, and so students can check to see that's what they did, or then they can see where they got a mistake if they didn't get the right answer. Or that could look like reviewing the lessons in a slide, um, more written, what I've previous taught,
and then practiced either with matching games, time to climb game. Really like Nearpod for this part. It makes we do and I do so easy. And then my next post, my third post, is an I do post. And this is fully independent student. Let's see if we can do this yourself. Really, I like games a lot for the you do, my last post. Make it fun practice for them as they practice and practice and practice and get better at the skills I'm teaching. We're making that practice fun. So that's how I follow my weekly posting. Now, if I do post another time a week, a fourth time, that one would just be a discussion question. So I will post just a question in the classroom for them to answer. It is a question that relates to what I have taught. How did it go this week? Answer this question so I can get some feedback from students and really see how they have understand what they've just learned. So there's my framework. I do, we do, you do, posting 3 or 4 times a week. So let's dive into this document and see what that looks like.
Okay, so we have week 1 and then my topic. I won't fill this whole thing out, but we'll do a couple. So where do I want to start with this lesson? This first one. So where are my students starting at their journey? And think of where they are: beginner, intermediate, advanced. So my students, they know some things about multiplication. They know how to multiply. Maybe they know how to skip count, but they're not strong in it. So they have some knowledge. I want to build on that knowledge and then take them further. So I'm going to start with fast tricks for 2. 2 is a really good multiplication fact. Most people are familiar with that, and we're going to be using fact 2 in my classes to help us solve other facts we're not so comfortable with. And then this description. To teach this topic, think about what do you need to do to teach this. And remember, we can have multiple lessons per week. So week 1, I could have a video lesson. We're going to count by 2s. Maybe we'll have a fun song or a trick. So, still week 1, I'm going to have another lesson. So first we had a video lesson. Now I want to give students an opportunity to practice it. So this will be practice with fun games. So I can practice with, I think I'm going to use a link to a game site. So I really like the game site Bluekit. Kahoot is a great one as well. Okay, and then maybe I'll have one more lesson, and maybe this is just like a discussion question for students to answer. Okay, and then week 2, we're gonna go for multiplication fact 3 next, and then I'll have my video lesson. And I really like creating my video lessons with Nearpod. I like Nearpod because I can add in questions to my video. And if you watched last week's video, I show you what that looks like. My video lesson, and then it pauses in Nearpod and it pops up with a question for my students. They have to answer that question before moving on. And then at the end of the video, I can ask questions. Like, now I'm giving my students the opportunity to practice. Okay. And then we want to be able to practice, an opportunity to practice. And then I'm going to think about what I want this to look like to practice fact 3. And I want to change it up. So I'm going to use a Nearpod again for this one because Nearpod allows me to add in a matching game. So maybe I can match my equation to answer. Matching is fantastic for vocab words, term to definition. You can match pictures to words. So I'm going to use Nearpod and have some I can have in some lesson slides to review what I have taught, that trick. You can kind of see the flow of this and how I'm going to build this out because I want to make sure all my lessons are going in a sequence order where my lessons are building on each other so I can reach this overall goal where my students know these fast tricks. So go ahead, finish filling out your Google Doc for the overall view of your self-paced course. We want to know, now that you have your objective, how many lessons is that going to take to fill out that objective? How many weeks is that going to take so we can really get down to the nitty-gritty in next week's video as we dive into the lesson and how we can make it engaging from start to finish because you are not there live with your students. We want to still make sure your students are having fun while they're learning. So we're going to dive into the lesson, what you need to include in your lesson, and the tools to help you create those engaging and interactive classes that are going to keep your students coming back and get those raving reviews from parents.